And joining me now is Kerem Kinik, who is the president of the Turkish Red Crescent, and Harry Sudrajat, who is the Indonesian Consul General in Istanbul. Thank you both for joining me today. Harry, I'll start with you. Give us an update on the latest situation in Indonesia.
The electricity now in some part are functioning, and there's 5 actually power stations in the area, 2 functioning, and then 3 of them still on reparation. And there's the airport now is open for 24 hours. And if you seen also in the news that the president also have visited the area for the 2nd time. And today I think the president is going back to Jakarta, but he's give the instruction for the public service to be functioning there, and also the economic activities has to be also restored in the area.
Kerem, I know the Turkish Red Crescent was one of the first aid organizations on the ground in Indonesia. Describe to us what the situation is like.
After the tsunami, a lot of infrastructure, bridges and the roads destroyed. Because of this, search and rescue activities didn't complete yet. Our TRC team, Türk Kızılay team, we transferred from the Bangladesh to the Indonesia after the earthquake. Now we are sending today another additional team, support team to our existing team. 600,000 people affected in that region. Mainly Donggala and Palu also affected, and 65,000 homes destroyed, and nowadays 60,000 people displaced. And 200,000 people desperately in need now. Now we are focusing on for water, sanitation, hygiene, and the food supply, and the temporary shelter. We are preparing 2 cargo plane, C-130 cargo plane to send to Sulawesi. We allocated from our own budget 5 million Turkish lira worth of in-kind donation, shelter and blankets and other things. We closely working with Indonesian Red Cross and as a host national society, but in the meantime with the National Search and Rescue Unit and the Army and the Police of Indonesia.
Harry, as Kara mentioned, the Indian Ocean earthquake and tsunami in 2004, which was just so incredibly devastating, but there were some warning systems that were put in place following that disaster. Did those warning systems work properly? Because it's my understanding that a lot of people didn't know to evacuate or just didn't have enough time to evacuate in this situation.
The Agency for Meteorological and Geological Agency, they rely on actually the what is called a tidal monitor. That whenever there was earthquake, they send the data and then they make a models whether there's if there was tsunami, possibility of tsunami, they send for instance through SMS to the public. So at that time, I think it's at 6 o'clock. At that time, 6 p.m., the agency sent actually the warning to the public. But 30 minutes later, they cancel the warning, the possibility of the tsunami. But just at that time, actually, the tsunami struck the coast of Palu and Donggala.
Kerem, what can be done to prevent another health crisis? We've had hundreds of people who have died and victims who haven't even been found yet, who are still buried under rubble, and we're more than a week now since this disaster happened. So you've got bodies that are out in the open. What can be done to prevent a secondary health crisis?
Actually, there are 3 phases of the disasters for the management. For risk reduction period, intervention, and the recovery period. Now we are still intervention period because the search and rescue activities doesn't complete. And after this, we will start to recovery. So water and sanitation and shelter and the basic food assistance very important. Evacuating the corpse and the burying them, it's important. Providing electricity and maintaining that roads and the bridges for access to the remote areas is crucial. So communicable diseases also, it's a huge risk for us. We are always expecting after that kind of crisis, this kind of things, communicable diseases, and some security problems and the psychosocial problems. We have to provide psychosocial support who affected that from that crisis. Indonesian Red Cross, Turkish Red Crescent, and many other nation societies. In the meantime, me as Vice President of International Federation Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies, IFRC, we revised our current emergency appeal by the 22 million Swiss franc for holistic recovery the approach. So including educational support, livelihood, permanent shelter, water, sanitation, hygiene, food assistance, psychosocial support, healthcare services. So all of these need international support.
And Kerem, we have time for just one last question. So I want to ask you, as we know that Indonesia is familiar with earthquakes, even volcanic activity. It's in the Pacific Ring of Fire. So it's likely that there will be more volcanic and earthquake activity in the future. So what can be done to improve assistance and getting assistance to people in the future?
Now we are focusing on, as the humanitarian agencies and the disaster relief agencies, community-based disaster management. So we have to provide resilience in advance to our own communities for the preparedness. So disaster awareness is crucial. Emergency response training to the communities, people, crucial. And according to the type of the disasters risk reduction plan implementation is crucial. So we have to develop our own community capacity for responding that type of crisis. But in the meantime, international cooperation and the collaboration mechanism must be implemented before that kind of crisis.
All right, Kerem Kanek and Harry Sudurjat, thanks for joining me today.